Good evening, and thank you, Sneha, for calling me here. One of my topic which I really relish, I practice every day, and it's a privilege to come here and talk in front of you about mental health. I completely agree with what Sneha talked about in terms of we need to spread awareness, and based on my experience, I am originally from Punjab, Jalandhar, if people know where Jalandhar is. And I have worked in Jalandhar, I am working in Bangalore. I had the privilege of working across the cultures, across the different tier cities. And trust me, Bangalore is the mental health hub of India per se. And still I can see the awareness is still lacking. So if you go up north, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, even I'll say Delhi, the awareness is low, stigma is really high. People don't come, and whereas in Bangalore, good mental health hub where actually there is a lot of awareness as compared to other cities of India. And Bangalore actually is a city where you will find very good trained mental health professionals coming from abroad, settling in Bangalore, and a lot of multinational companies incorporating, understanding the need of mental health. So it's a good thing, and fortunately, COVID actually brought a boom in the awareness of the mental health. As Sneha was mentioning, that COVID brought a lot of mental health issues where the individuals and the society felt the need that they need mental health, they need professional help. There is something called mental health which needs to be acknowledged and addressed, and that's what I would be talking about today. So what I will be talking about is first, empowering growth, where we'll do some kind of self-reflection and understand that how to identify mental health issues, then embracing serenity in terms of strategies for stress management and the psychological first aid. How, if you encounter anyone who is struggling with mental health, how you as a friend, as not a caregiver, but as a support system, how you can support and eventually either nip it in the bud or take that person or encourage that person to go for the professional support. Now when we talk about empowering growth, because I think since the start of this session we have been talking about physical health, mental health, and how physical health has a lot of investigations, parameters to assess, and how unfortunately mental health doesn't. So let's do a quick exercise, and I would really appreciate if all of you can participate. So put your hands up if you ever had physical health issue, who all have ever broken a nose? Yeah, sorry. Okay, who has broken a bone? Who has ever cut the finger? Ever had a headache? Oh, you never had a headache? What about toothache? What about tummy ache? Great. And what about falling and being in pain for days together? Wow. Now, the next one, I really don't want you to raise your hands, but acknowledge and reflect on, have you ever encountered any mental health issue? I'm glad that you're able to come out. Have you ever felt happy in the last week? Sad in the last week? Excited? Scared? Worried? Wow. So, but did you see the difference? The excitement with which we were able to raise our hands about our physical health, and the way we were resistant, reluctant, and the hands were going till here, not till here. So that's what the difference I think Sneha was talking about, and how Nivedita was actually introducing it. We are unable to understand what's going on within, because it's a very abstract thing. हाथ पे चोट लगेगी तो निशान पड़ जाएगा, नील पड़ जाएगा, but अगर उदासी होगी, so what you will do? You will doubt, उदासी है कि नहीं है? Should I talk about it? Should I not talk about it? So that's what mental health is all about. But when we say mental health, that doesn't mean it's mental illness. You know, like physical health doesn't mean physical illness. So mental health means like whatever capacity, potential that you have, you are able to utilize it, be flexible about it, and are able to resolve the daily hassles that we encounter. It's inevitable that we will not have any stress. Like, for example, Bangalore is known for traffic. If you're stuck in traffic and like Sneha had asked me कि like 5 बजे तक पहुंच जाना, and I'm coming way from Cooktown, God, that near the Jayadeva flyover, I got stuck and I'm like, oh God, I'm running 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. I could feel the anxiety, right? So the stress is inevitable. Either I could have just rushed and crashed into something, or I would have been calmer and say, ठीक है, like at least I still have like 15 more minutes to reach, so I will be able to make on time. So that's what is mental health is all about. But when all your resources, inner resources, your stress management capability go for a toss, and your sadness become pervasive, your anxiety become pervasive, your emotions are not under your control, then it's a clear sign or a red warning sign that it might be going towards what we can call as mental illness. So why do we need to talk about mental well-being? Why we are here? So I'm sure like each of you would be having some reason to come here for this talk, and you need not share it. But so mental health continuum is like this. Like you can start from drowning, where you can be very anxious, and there you can actually go till being thriving. So basically, as I was saying, anxiety can be in a spectrum, happiness can be in a spectrum, sadness can be in a spectrum. But what we have to say is like mental health starts from thriving, but when you are going towards being in a drowning phase, it's a red warning sign, right? Now it's interesting, like here what I'm seeing is majority of females and less of males. That also signifies what? And that is seen in my clinical practice also, or across mental health professionals' clinical practice, because females are wired that way, where they are more sensitive to their emotional health, and secondly, society says like where males are wired, or they are being told from the beginning that, oh, you are a boy, man it up, you cannot cry, you cannot be sad, you have to handle every emotional ups and downs. Even like let's say your partner, your family members, you are the strong pillar of health. Strong pillar of health doesn't mean that you don't feel emotions, right? So the first thing that you have to do when you're talking about mental health is acknowledge it, and that's the first step, and the half battle is won there and then, right? And what I'm seeing is here probably a lot of you are in like starting from mid-30s onwards, but children also have mental illness. You know, as Sneha was talking about things changing, kids are being pressured to perform, suicides increasing in adolescence. So as parents, you know, or as teachers, or as one of the family members, it's important, it's pertinent to even notice those behavioral changes, emotional changes in children as well, not only in adults. So mental health professions are not only for adults, but for children, for geriatric population across the spectrum. So as adults, what are the mental health challenges you go through? So these are the things like, so basically I deal with majority of personality disorders and individuals who are planning to become parents during their antenatal period, postpartum period. But like what I'll be talking about the risk factors is majorly cities like metropolitan cities like Bangalore, where there's a lot of work related stress. Like I see a lot of corporate sector people who literally are sleeping over their laptop. It's like the fastest finger first. He's email कौन पहले पढ़ेगा, कौन भेजेगा, and that's exactly what causes it. There are a lot of clients who come, they are working literally 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and suddenly when they come and say, oh, I almost tried attempting suicide. Why? Because they say this is the nature of the work. There is no, like, we have to meet the deadlines, and if we don't meet the deadlines, like, we are not getting promoted, and to maintain the lifestyle you need that kind of a money and promotion. Work-life balance. No work-life balance. Imagine out of 24 hours, if you're working 13 to 15 hours and then sleep around 7 hours, what is the time that you're going to spend on yourself or with others? So work-life balance, imbalance itself causes a lot of stress, which can lead to a lot of mental health challenges. Migration. You know, I think Bangalore being a cosmopolitan city where I'm sure there are a lot of people are from different states who have made Bangalore as home, but it's a cultural shock, right? Like, you know, your family, your anchor is back home in your hometown, so you are on your own. So that's again another factor. Life milestones. When you're becoming a mother, when you're becoming a father, when you're changing the job, when you're getting into the job. So all these transitional phases itself can be a risk factor for the mental health stressor. Relationship issues. Either you shove it under the carpet or you don't talk about it, or it gets exploded in a way which hampers your mental health. And isolation. Because, like, I think Sneha was talking about single women and and don't have time to discuss their problem, don't have friends. So isolation itself can be a big contributing factor in the mental health challenge. Now, how do you recognize that you are not okay? Like, for example, today you are able to handle work-related stress very well. After a month, then you realize, oh, this I am unable to handle. Like, I am not able to actually resolve the problem which I was able to resolve yesterday. So that means that your resources are depleting. For example, like, I majorly can talk more about perinatal population. Like, for example, there is double income person and suddenly the mother has to take a break. The father is under stress, like he is required to be a father, he's a sole bread earner. Your stress has increased, but the resources have depleted. It can itself be a major stress factor and cause into a lot of mental health issues. So, some pictorial. So these are some of the warning signs that you can observe if you are going through or your near and dear ones going through. Majorly, the golden rule is a behavioral change, right? So these kind of things where I think a lot of people had raised their headache and tummy ache and everything. Have you ever realized your headache will be there when there is a lot of stress? Or you have worked immensely, you will end up having aches. I'm not saying that all aches are because of stress, but it can also present in terms of these physical pains as well. So there is a lot of research where you say acne is because of stress, migraines are because of stress, and even they can be the red warning signs that you're developing heightened anxiety or heightened low mood, which can be labeled as depression going forward. So chronic stress can lead to mental illness. So all of us are vulnerable to mental illness. Yes, but it depends upon the intensity, vulnerability intensity also. Why? Because, like, for example, if in my family someone has mental illness, I will be much more predisposed to acquiring that mental illness. For example, one stress can result into a mental illness for me, but that the same stress might not be for others. So we cannot say a blanket statement like what we say, अरे ये तो मेरे साथ भी हुआ था, अगर उसने handle कर लिया तो तुम क्यों नहीं handle कर पा रहे? So the comparison is pretty irrelevant and invalid. Your own life experience, like for example, if this kind of a stress I am experiencing now, and another person has experienced multiple times before, the other person is going to be much more vulnerable than me. And social factors, like it can be cultural, across different religions, where or your family structure, your family dynamics. So all these factors can play a major role in terms of trigger for developing mental illness. Sorry? Culture, anomaly. So basic anomaly, sorry. So now, okay, so I would like to ask if you have any questions in the first half, or do you want to share your experience before I move ahead? Because it's a very monologue that's happening. I would like to be more interactive. Anything, any questions, anything? No, thank you. Sorry?
Drowning syndrome.
The drowning syndrome.
How is it? How it can be related to mental illness. So what I meant was, like, suppose today I'm happy. Today I'm happy and I'm normal. No, sorry, I'll not use the word normal, but I'm happy and I am at my baseline level. So I'll be cheerful. Even some stressor come, I will be able to handle it. Probably I'll get anxious, but I will be able to handle it. But as and when we are like going towards the drowning state, so cheerful will become positive. We are just on the like fence, then we'll be worried. We are struggling, we are balancing our act out, then we will be anxious. And when we are like unable to manage and we are almost drowning in a way where no problem solving technique is working, we will be overwhelmed or very anxious. So basically it's a continuum to make you understand without labeling that any kind of mental illness, any kind of emotion has a spectrum. So we cannot say every anxious person has mental illness. So the drowning state, the mental illness state will come when you are super anxious. You will see in your physiological symptoms, your hands will start shaking, you will start stuttering. Like, for example, if I am speaking in front of you, I am anxious, but I am positive कि हाँ मेरे से हो जाएगा, I will be able to engage the audience. But if I am like a anxious person and I am having a panic attack, I will not be able to stand here, hold the mic. I will just like leave everything and run away from here. So that's drowning. So was I able to make sense of it?
No, I think the question was weight loss is one of the symptoms.
Yes.
One of the symptoms.
So yes, so weight loss in terms of, again, weight loss can be seen in again a spectrum. If without doing anything you are having a weight loss, is a sense of worry. But even if you're excessively exercising 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening, it's again a worry. You know, as a mental health expert, I will be curious to understand what's happening, that why you would like to lose that much amount of weight, right? So that will be my worry, and that's again a drowning symptom. It again, in terms of eating excessively, like a lot of people who are struggling with mental health, their go-to coping mechanism is eat whatever, especially eat junk, eat sweets. But does everyone who eat junk and sweet is struggling with mental health? No. But again, if you are having one whole bar of chocolate in one go, yes, I will be concerned. Right? If you are having like only junk throughout, I will be concerned. So that's what I mean by eating. So the reason I had put this graph is like what we see as a normal day-to-day thing it is all in the spectrum, and that what as a person you need to be very vigilant about is change. When just eating for a celebration and then eating or drinking on a very regular everyday basis, that change you might have to be very careful about. Yes. So violent, again, it's not a spectrum, right? So violence. Sorry.
Can you repeat the question?
So what sir was asking in terms of violence, right? Now, so violence, again, it can be mental health issue, yes. Again, it can come in a very episodic way where a person is manic, a person is in mania or under intoxication. So that will come under mental health issue. But it can also come as a part of a personality. So what we need to differentiate is from anger to violence. Anger is a normal emotion. Getting angry is absolutely normal, but how you express your anger is something that you have to observe. If you are able to calm yourself down and express that, okay, I am angry with you, it is not done. If a parent is not shouting, but is being stern with the child and saying, this is not done, that's okay. But if the parent is excessively, or there is a domestic violence, or there is a violence, any person is impulsively reacting in form of anger, slapping people or pushing people every time, not only once, so that is concerning. That will come as one of the signs and symptoms. But the reason I didn't put it is because that's a very extreme part of it, that's like very evident. So what we were talking about today is like things which we ignore, which we shove it under the carpet. This is okay, this is not. So yes, but I agree with you, violence has to be taken care of and seen to what exactly it is all.
On a given day, I would be like sad, happy, irritable.
Yes.
The next day I'll be fine. Everything will happen in a given day.
Absolutely. So what mental disorder is pervasive, consistent, and on a regular basis. Having these fluctuations also on a very regular basis is also concerning. Like suddenly you are getting cheerful and suddenly you are getting anxious. I would like, what suddenly happened without a trigger? Yes, but if there is also something without trigger also, it's concerning. Like suddenly I'm happy and suddenly, like for example, someone asks me something and I will start yelling. You will say, what's going on with her?
Bipolar, they say.
So bipolar is very episodic. It's not you will not find these mood fluctuations on Monday and then 3-4 days it will be okay. So that is not bipolar. That's something related to personality. Bipolar will be a consistent, pervasive, happy phase for good 7-8 days or going up till a month, and then there will be episodes of low mood, depression for good 1-2 months. So that's episodic. By the way, because ma'am asked, so today is World Bipolar Awareness Day. So it's a good day to me being here and creating that awareness. So yeah. Yes.
Maybe that once you sleep, you will sleep for a long time. And you're pretty sure that once you keep your head on the pillow, within seconds you will sleep. But what is the condition where you don't want to go to that, you want to extend the day deliberately? Like you feel that, okay, if I sleep now, I'm going to lose on my me time. You go on thinking that situation. Is it something to do with this or what is it?
So again, the golden rule is it one-off or is it happening every day?
Every day.
Right, so then there might be many underlying factors. Is it are you anxious about something that you are not getting me time, you're working a lot, or there is some pending work that you want to finish and you're not focusing on the sleep. So sleep parameter is not, so when I talk about sleep, it's biological sleep I'm talking about, that you're unable to fall asleep or you're excessively sleeping. Like, so normal sleep, what we recommend is in between 5 to 7 hours. But if you're sleeping in 24 hours below 5 hours or extending beyond 7 hours, that will be a concern. So it's more like from a biological concept rather than a very intentional concept. There are a lot of neurotransmitters. It can be dopamine, it can be serotonin, so those impact. Yes. Yeah.
The slide when you talk about the root causes, isolation,
Oh, sorry.
in one of the slides, Krishna talked about the root causes. Some kind of but I think this is the thing that they would actually try to get a job or fit into the job. Their new change management is a problem. Addressing the change. They might have to migrate to different cities. They might have to undergo isolation as well.
Yes.
And then that is the age when relationships plus minuses would happen. Right? Is that the reason why this group is impacted the most? Or
I
is
think
that something else?
these are the risk factors there across. That group is more affected because that they are much more vulnerable in terms of their experiences. And imagine like suddenly you're moving out of your city. There are going to be adjustment issues. So then your support system is nil. That's why that group is going to be vulnerable. So that time they are trying to assess their achievement based on how well they are able to adjust in their job, how early they are able to get the positive feedback or constructive feedback like that. So that's why they are going to be more vulnerable, right? Like I can give you my example. Like I had studied in Manipal. Technically, it's a cosmopolitan town, but when I shifted from Punjab there, and I was like, simple thing like the food difference, not even the language difference. The food difference was quite unnerving for me. I don't know how, like, no offense, like, this kind of stuff is not served in the restaurant. That was happening in Punjab. You know, I haven't heard about gobi Manchurian. I was like, what gobi Manchurian is all about. So, yeah. So something like that. It's like it sounds funny. It sounds small, but a compounded impact can be quite anxiety provoking because you feel that you don't belong here. You are a misfit here. So then you start doubting yourself, and you know it's like a snowball effect. Yeah.
How important is it to match your routine to the circadian rhythm? Because a lot of kids, a lot of them want to stay up late and study late, and they're saying, oh, this is what everybody does, and I perform better when I'm but over a period of time I'm sure that must have an impact on. And so how can we let them know that it's not okay to do that beyond a point?
Ideally, what you're saying is correct, that we have to have a good circadian rhythm, a disciplined routine for the sleep and everything, and it is important for your physical and mental health both. Are as the parents following the same thing? Like what I was telling, that because the pressure of job is so high, I have seen my peers working in corporate sector who are healthy people sleeping at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., taking calls because it's a global MNC kind of a thing. They are taking the calls around 1 in the morning or waking up at 5 in the morning, right? So the role modeling. What as a role modeling we are doing. So you might be able to take care of your child and do a good role model, but are the other parents doing the same role modeling for their kids? So then if the other kids are doing, so their role modeling is not happening, so there's going to be peer pressure. The peer pressure in adolescence, not only sleep, across the girls, have you gotten yourself waxed? Or puberty, the guys, oh, you have gotten your facial hair, I haven't gotten my facial hair. So something like that, right? Oh, you have PS5, I still have PS4. So these kind of things are going to create peer pressure in adolescence. And I think like what I really like what Sneha said, no, like उस time we had little amount of exposure, little amount of resources, and there was no peer pressure.
I know Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. I think like now even a lot of these OTT platforms are trying to bring out that awareness against it. So when I was talking about emotions, right? Like I'm seeing less of guys, but I just noticed this one show, this Big Girls Don't Cry. I don't know if any of you have heard. The name is also like it's telling you should not cry, you should not express yourself, which actually should not happen. Like you should be able to express yourself, you should be able to acknowledge your emotions. Okay, so now we have been talking about a lot about mental health, what is mental health, identification of mental health. Now what to do once we know what is mental health? Acknowledge. Acknowledge what you're feeling. Don't shove it under the carpet, because one single emotion, it's like the building blocks of emotional outbursts. So acknowledge, acknowledge, acknowledge. Self-care. What is the self-care? So like you might have read across the blogs, across like newspaper articles, everything. Write a gratitude journal, do meditation, do yoga, go for exercise and everything. Do whatever that gives you that happiness, and that's me time, but take out at least 1 hour in a day. Nothing, you want to see Netflix mindlessly, you want to go out for a walk, write a gratitude journal, do meditation, but do it. So that 1 hour has to be there where you can pause and reflect what's going on for you, right? And as I will not stress less, express. Before anger becomes rage, before excitement becomes elation, where you are like jumping all over the place. So express. Work-life balance, how you are able to integrate in your life, that's important. Work doesn't mean only limited to people who are going to the office. Work is also for homemakers, work is also for children, work is also for retired people, but a balance. So everything in the extreme is going to be harmful. Clear boundary setting. If you are not okay going to a certain party because you are tired, it's okay to say no. If someone is stepping on your toes and saying like, is irritating you, it's okay to say no. So having those boundaries setting is very important. Seek support. Like, I'm so glad that it's a community that has come together to do this. So having more community, sharing about your difficulties, identifying that one person or multiple people where you can listen to people and talk to people and be validated by what you are going through. So that support system is really, really important. Refraining from avoidant coping mechanism. आज मैं उदास हूँ, कल भी उदास थी. Is it okay? Or like people will think, what is this udasi? Like why should I tell people that I am sad? What they will think about me? No, it's okay. Like you have to express. Probably the other person is feeling the same and you get that validation acknowledgement. So talk about it. Identify the red flags that I talked about, and active problem solving. Like there is one problem, it's a small problem. What will happen if like let's move on, let's get into distraction, let's take more work so that I don't have to think about that. It is more harmful than active problem solving. So do active problem solving and do seek professional help whenever it is required. If that gives you some amount of encouragement, being a therapist, I am under therapy, else I would not be able to sustain. So please, it's okay to seek professional help. And what you can do for others, like be present for others, patient. People will not open up like that. So you might have to be very patient rather than pestering them. Be patient, be being along with them, be get into like perseverance in terms of like consistently being with them rather than just giving up. It's the same thing. That person cries again and again on the same thing. So I think like I'm going to leave that person. Perseverance is required because it takes a lot to come out with their own emotions. And supported recovery. So when person has taken a pledge to actually go ahead and take the therapy or take any kind of mental health help, you can offer to either a company or take appointment on their behalf if they are still ambivalent or over the edge. Some do's and don'ts, please be
strong. They are strong. They are bearing this problem and they are strongly facing it. Give them the positive first, then give other advice. I feel.
No, you're absolutely correct, and I think FemFirst, it's like the first step forward to create that, and I'm sure like we'll be conducting these kind of workshops where that's what I meant by psychological first aid, right? So it's not easy. We have to practice it, like where we are making a conscious effort to acknowledge that their problems are different, using the right language to validate them, right? So that's the first step to go for.
I just want to ask one point here. I totally believe in non-judgmental listening, where you're not listening to judge the other person. Because, as simple as that, I'll tell you what happens to me. Now, the last 2-3 years, I've been very active in doing certain works and talking to more people. And so more people somehow society have started knowing me. What has started happening is when I go and, maybe wear a dress and just start talking to my friends and, just bindas mode, everybody starts judging me. That she, as a care provider, how can she do that? As simple as that. It's extremely bad. People are judging me and I don't care because I have realized that I have my personal life. There's a boundary between a professional life as well as a personal life. So I cannot be professional all the way because I also need some kind of support. So be non-judgmental. And the other thing that I've realized, we women specifically, because I'm a huge advocate, like I'm a complete feminist, you can say, that if you are homemaker, you always underestimate. ये तो ऐसे ही चलता है. मैं तो करती क्यों काम? मैं तो दिन भर Instagram and the family start talking. तुम Instagram पे रहती हो, you just start talking to your friends and all. I'll tell you, I also was a homemaker at one point and I know kind of work it takes. It's extremely difficult, at least to the people. I'm not underestimating anyone, but what I'm saying is, at least someone who is working, either business or whatever, they are busy in some form. They're getting some me time at least, stepping out of the house. But being said as a homemaker, you don't want to make friends because you're always busy. There will be a maid coming, you don't want to spend money on yourself. These are small little things that I also felt, and I also see that everybody feels that way. So please cheer up women, we are for each other. I really want to say that this platform, that we are for each other, right? I mean, most of us are coming from a different society, different cities and everyone, and we don't have our moms, our sisters to talk about. We only have each other. So let's just please start talking about how are we feeling. Can we just create a small group where nobody judges, nobody talks, and some people can rant how their day was, how their in-laws was, how their husband was, kid was, whatever. Please, because I think we are for each other. Nobody else, if something happened recently, their parents didn't come, we were the first people who would have helped, right? And I really feel upset that we were not able to. This person was staying in isolation, staying in a big society of ours where we have around 10,000 people, still that person was alone. And today most of us are alone. We have left our cities, left our families to be here working or whatever. So we need to handle each other. That's the entire agenda of today. Let's create something which is inclusive, which is non-judgmental. Nobody judges anyone, and of course we don't find solution because people like Poornima has to step in for the work, for the professional support, but listening is the first. She was saying that first hear, acknowledge, and I think this is what we can create within us.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you all so much for making it here this evening. And we know that it takes open communication and access to resources and tools as spoken about today. And we had two incredible speakers with us today. Dr. Sneha, who spoke about the mental health stats, and Dr. Poornima, who's been kind enough to grace us with her presence from a long way away, and she spoke about the symptoms as well as how to tackle those things, at least in a preliminary, starting, beginner sort of way. So I'm sure as a community, we will all be able to utilize these resources and the information and the knowledge that we've got today, and we will be able to apply it to our lives. Thank you all so much once again for making it here, and we will keep having these sessions also in the future, and look forward to having you all. Thank you.
Sadly, what happened in B9, at least from my knowledge, is some kind of domestic violence. How do we address this? How do we support women who are going through domestic violence? How can we help this? It is a mental health issue. It was very sadly, we as women, I may know my neighbor is going through that. How do I step in and help? I think I have not addressed this session, this particular question, which is, the main cause for this gathering out here. The gathering has been, we have gone through a very unfortunate incident in our society. And this question is still in the back of my mind. If she was my neighbor, how would I have addressed it? How could I have helped her? And that is really because I would feel helpless. Do I step in? Do I make a conscious effort to try and understand the issue? Do I let it to be a family issue? Is there a serious issue? Or is she making an issue out of it? There can be so many questions in my mind. But the consequence can be very tragic, as we have seen. Because we did not know how to address it as residents, as neighbors, as friends. So how do we do that? So as you said, listen, talk, everything sounds. But how do where do I draw my boundaries? Where do I step in? And how do I know I'm not crossing boundaries? For my own sanity as well as the safety of the other person. Yeah.
So it's unfortunate because domestic violence itself is a very, very tricky situation to be in. The reason why is because it can be traumatic. It can lead to multiple mental health disorders, but at the same time it also is, in terms of socially, legally, we are bound with certain rules and regulations, and you cannot do anything until unless the will of the victim is there, right? So there's no straightforward answer to what you were asking, but something like, not when things have happened, not when, after knowing when someone is going through something, but establishing a community in terms of making sure, even if your neighbor is not going through anything, knowing what your neighbors are, making connections with them. Because that person will only be able to listen and give you that confidence if that person can trust you, right? Because you cannot hear what's going in those four walls, right? But, like for example, I will ask any of you, how much you know about your neighbor?
I was about to tell you that.
Yeah.
We hardly know our neighbors,
Absolutely.
even now at this point. We all are so busy working.
Correct.
We don't know who's living next door.
Right.
And sometimes we bump into them in the lift and they say, hello, I'm so and so. And she says, where do you live? I live right next door, I don't even know you. So you never know what you're going through.
Even if I know my I know my neighbor is going through this. I know she knows. I'm just being a case scenario. Going through domestic violence. These days with domestic violence. How do I?
See, again, that's what I'm saying, that you might have to talk to him. I'm not going to do gender discrimination here, and talk about all these things, because it's not easy to come out of that, right? Legality wise also, even let's say you go and talk, you just have to make sure that person is safe. Even that person opts to stay in that same house, you might have to make sure that how in that house also that person can create safety space for that for themselves. You can give your number, like let's say if the things escalate, just put me on emergency number and call me. I will come out for help. Like when the things have calmed down, and then you will then say, okay, come out of this place. Where that person will go? What if the parents or their family members are not willing to take them out? Correct? We have to see how much financially independent they are, because majority of the reasons they opt to stay in that kind of a situation is because they don't know where to go because they are not financially independent. Right? If we go and call, like say we